All right, everybody, welcome back here to coverage of the U.S. Regional Championship here in Denver, Colorado. My name is Corey Baumeister, and I'm joined by Brian Braun-Duin. BBD, how was that first match? Any big surprises from that, or do you think that went pretty standard, at least the Rakdos versus Yawgmoth match?
Yeah, the Rakdos versus Yawgmoth looked like a pretty standard matchup between those two. I thought that Merfolk versus Titan match was really awesome. Some really swingy plays in all the games, honestly, and that was really just like super fun to see. You know, whoever you looked like they were going to win the game, that's not who won the game.
Exactly, and it was nice to hear that interview that Rhinos is it Merfolk's best matchup. I mean, if that's true, you know, Nathaniel is ready for a really nice tournament if you're just going to play against a good matchup a fourth of the time, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely where you want to be. I mean that does presume that is true. You know, that sometimes is, you know, it's I have a good Jund matchup or whatever. It's not always the case, but you know, if that is true, then that's a great place to be, winning all these matches and have a great matchup against, you know, one of the better decks and most played decks.
Yeah, how many times have you said that in your professional Magic career, or how many times have you heard that, like, oh, I have a great matchup against the best deck, and then, you know, someone really skilled with the deck plays you with the best deck, and you're like, mine.
I mean, I've said that myself, and it was true. And then somebody played me, and they're like, they played the deck way differently than I was expecting, and I'm like, okay, that changes things.
Reality check, yeah, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, we're going to get into round number 5 here. We have, well, kind of the same matchup that we had for our start of round number 4, but these players are undefeated. So let's take a look at our deck list here, starting off with Matt Nass, a professional Magic player that you and I both know personally here, playing Golgari Yawgmoth. Talk to us a little bit about this list, or is this pretty much business as usual? The one thing I will have to point out that you got to talk to us about is that a Tarmogoyf in the board?
Oh, it is. And I have to imagine that's just a throwback to days of yesteryear where Goyf was the big one. One thing is that Matt Nass is an expert at these kinds of combo decks. That's where he is he loves these engine kind of combo-y decks. So I'm really excited to see Matt play this deck, right up his alley. And then beyond that, it's just Yawgmoth's just the super powerful creature combo deck with Yawgmoth. And I think one of the interesting things is Matt is playing this card Insidious Roots. And so that has a lot of like explosive and combo potential to add to this deck. And I'm interested to see if he does draw that card, how he utilizes it.
Yeah, of course, Matt Nass is going to put an already complex combo deck, put another complex layer into the combo deck. You know, Matt Nass, most famously known for just dominating Grand Prix after Grand Prix with KCI. I feel like we can all vomit together with the thought of that deck. That was one of your favorites, actually, too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have no room to talk here. I also like these horrible decks. So, you know what? Let's go.
I wonder if it's too late to get another booth partner here. But in the meantime, while we try to figure out a replacement, let's take a look at Matt Nass's opponent here. And we got Nathan here on Rakdos Evoke as well. Tell us a little bit about this list and any big changes from kind of the stock Rakdos list here, BBD.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like a pretty stock Rakdos, you know, Evoke deck, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's a reason why decks are stock. It's because they're usually the best way to build the deck. Yeah. So this looks like a pretty stock one. We saw in that last match where an Evoked Grief on turn 1 was not enough to win the game. So, you know, Nathan, I'm going to be interested to see if he has those kinds of powerful draws this time. Is it going to be enough versus Yawgmoth? And if he doesn't manage to have those kinds of draws, can this Rakdos deck play a more grindier game and still win in the end?
Yeah, sounds good. Let's not speculate to see what is going to happen because these players are ready to go. So let's head into the battlefield here. Get you ready for round number 5 here with a big yawn from Matt Nass to start it off. You can't be tired yet, buddy. We got a long day still ahead of us.
This man's been doing math for 4 rounds straight.
All right, that's good.
He's allowed a yawn.
That is fair. And Matt Nass being a Colorado native as well, so at least gets to sleep in his own bed at the end of this tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing better than that.
You know, when I lived in North Dakota for most of my life, believe it or not, I didn't get any home turf GPs or pro tours. I don't get why.
And then even if they did they even have beds in North Dakota?
Oh wow! How dare you? How dare you? Okay, we stayed warm with our bales of hay here. So all right, we
Beautiful.
got we got turn number one here. Young Wolf here from Matt Nass and Nathan with a couple of lands and a pass, probably sanctifying a Orcish Bowmaster.
Yeah, I would have to think so. Looked like Nathan picked up a Ragavan for the turn, which could have been appealing to Dash in a normal situation, but not against Young Wolf.
Yeah, it used to be, Ragavan's mortal enemy was the unbeatable Arboreal Grazer, but then Young Wolf is like, yep, hold my beverage. I'm coming in to make sure you're never attacking with that card. It ends up just being so brutal. Once again, the loss of Fury just makes it so Ragavan is even worse in this matchup where you're unable to go like Dothy Voidwalker plus evoke a Fury and clean up the battlefield cleanly. So, yeah, makes the card a lot worse and something I'm sure we'll see sided out, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think so as well. It's definitely your opponent's playing cards like Young Wolf. I don't think that's something even just a wall of roots or whatever. It's really hard to push through, and I don't think that's necessarily the game plan you want to be trying to do anyway.
Yep, I would totally agree. You definitely just want to kind of play the control route from the Rakdos Evoke side, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, I think you want to mix pressure with being able to play the control route, but Ragavan just doesn't provide like the right kind of pressure with how easy it is to stop.
Yeah, totally agree. And the cards that you're hitting, like, okay, great. You get a Young Wolf. Do you even want to play it? If it gets destroyed, it comes back to Matt Nass, right?
Yeah, I mean, you play that Young Wolf off the top, and all of a sudden, Orcish Bowmasters comes with a Young
Yeah.
Wolf with a counter on it. So
Yeah, no kidding. So here we go. We see the Amass token coming on in. Matt Nass like looks at Nathan, looks back at Pendlehaven, looks back at Nathan like, call maybe?
it seems like a second Bowmaster to me. I think he's baiting the block, the attempt to
Yeah.
pump with uh the attempt to pump with a Pendlehaven, and then responding to that with another Bowmaster.
What if
Now,
Matt just passes priority here? How would that end up?
and I think in that case, Nathan just takes the trade and says, like, okay, I've taken the Undying off of Young Wolf. Now I can trade with it for real next time around.
Wow, it wasn't there. That was just was that just kind of a bluff? Wow, Nathan's hand looks bad. Two Blood Crypts, Ragavan, and a Lightning Bolt. Ew.
Yeah, that is gross. I think he's definitely bluffing the Bowmaster, and honestly, I actually really like that play with how bad his hand is. Why not try to push in damage where you can, try to get advantages where you can?
Speaking of bad hands, looking at Matt Nass's hand has 5 lands, one of them being Boseiju, and then Yawgmoth. Wow. These players, probably drew better than this to get to 4-0 than they're drawing right now.
Yeah, this is kind of a battle of who ends up drawing something of relevance first. Granted that Yawgmoth is probably going to be very nice, but
You gotta love these kind of games when you kind of like staring back and forth at each other, and you're like, well, your hand must be absolutely awful, and you play these kind of weird sub games where your deck is not doing what it should be doing, but your opponent's deck is also really, really not doing it.
now here's a question of how greedy is Matt going to get here? Okay, there's a Dothy Voidwalker. If Nathan ends up dashing this Ragavan, I kind of
Yeah.
like fetching a Dryad Arbor, blocking, and
Ah,
and pumping with the Pendlehaven.
yeah, good point. Yeah, especially since it's Dash now. And I mean, to be fair, this is face up, right? This is an open deckless tournament. So is this
Yeah,
maybe a slight misplay by Nathan or?
yeah. I think he's realizing right now, and it's
Yeah.
really easy to overlook that too. That's not like an obvious thing.
Yeah, it's like, wow, your fetch land is a 1/1 creature as well, Just
Yeah,
adds another element to this Golgari deck that can be really brutal.
I think Matt is debating which creature he kills because there might be some merit in wanting to get the Bowmaster off the table. Matt does have that Yawgmoth, which
Mhm.
would trigger the Bowmaster. I think he's
Yeah,
wondering like, do I take the one hit from the Ragavan and hope it doesn't backfire on me?
yeah, and kind of looking at Matt Nass's deck list here, there's not a lot that punishes. There's not Fatal Push, like that would kind of be the nightmare where you're just able to push the Dryad and go from there. You can hit an Ignoble Hierarch, a Haywire Might, maybe a Delighted Halfling or a Young Wolf as a card that actually matters. But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. No, I like the decision there to get rid of the Bowmaster. That's a more threatening card. I mean, the Ragavan has to be picked back up anyway, and
Yeah.
Yawgmoth kind of really trumps that Ragavan anyway.
Yeah, and Matt Nass definitely making the correct play here as another Yawgmoth off the top is not exactly what Matt wanted anyways. So yeah, really big brain stuff here from Matt.
Yeah, it's like the reverse of the old like you thought sees them and then they draw the card they wanted. The bigger
Yeah.
brain is letting the Ragavan hit you so that you don't draw the card you didn't want.
Yeah, there you go. Seeing all the angles here. And another land off the top from Nathan. So yikes. And the only thing with void counters here is just land. So gotta think things are looking a little better here for Matt.
Yeah, Matt's in a great spot here. Not under a lot of life total pressure and not under any like actual real pressure with Nathan having like nothing of value in hand basically.
Yeah, and you saw the hesitation a little bit there about trying to get rid of your 1/1 to be able to just put a counter on Dothy. Doesn't seem worth it to get rid of a mana source, even though you don't really have anything with the Dryad Arbor, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. I think you'd rather have the creature, and also like exiling the creature to the Voidwalker too is kind of a sad thing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see if Matt Nass picked up anything besides a land here.
Looks like a
Ooh,
grist.
that's a big draw. That looks like Grist and another Yawgmoth plus 3 lands. Ooh, that's excellent. So it looks like we're gonna jam the Grist here. Now, what are you doing with it, BBD? Are you ticking up and then maybe trying to deal with Dothy, or are you considering like down ticking to deal with it?
I kind of think you want to tick up. It's a huge risk to tick down because if you tick down and the Dryad Arbor gets hit with a bolt or something in response, now suddenly you have to sacrifice, the Yawgmoth if you want to get the effect. So
Yeah. Now here is the other question. We have perfect information, so this is easy for us to know that you can just deal with that Dothy. But Matt does not have that information, and you got to be a little afraid of a not dead after all here, don't you?
yeah, decides to just go for it anyway.
Love it.
Yeah, no, don't play scared. Like
Yeah.
make your opponent have it.
I mean, honestly, that is a good lesson, right? Like, even in this situation, it would be kind of bad. But most of the time, you just make your opponent have it a large amount of times whenever you were playing professional Magic, right? If you remember that long ago. I know it's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, I let me think back to the days before the internet. Uh, the other thing too is like what like okay, not dead after all. That's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but how bad like actually is that? Is that going to be like game losing bad? Probably not. You're still drawing a couple cards. It's a situation where I think you have to weigh the risk reward there.
Yeah, I think the only thought that I was thinking is just like upkeep dealing with Dothy Voidwalker, because then if the not dead after all is there, then it's not gonna at least attack you. And right now, this Yawgmoth is an amazing card right now, but your life is a resource. So if you're at a lowish life, all of a sudden you have a 4 mana 2/4, and that is a lot less exciting. And with another Ragavan being picked up there, I like Nathan's choice to just not waste any more time as this game looked very over.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Game's over. Let's get to the next one. Let's get these cards out of our deck. Get into some new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Get those Ragavans out of the deck as they looked quite bad. So welcome back to the booth here, y'all. BBD, now what we just saw this matchup as our main feature match in the last round, but I think there is a couple of different cards here from the list that we saw before. Now, what do we do from the Rakdos side? Any cards you really like?
I mean, the Cursed Totem again, that's going to be kind of your, like, this is the matchup for Cursed Totem.
Yeah.
So you're going to want that card, and then you might want Leyline of the Void, or you might not. I'm not entirely sure, because while it does have really high upside against like some really strong draws, it also has, you know, games where the Leyline doesn't do much, or you're drawing Leylines on turn 3 and 4. So that's one where, you know, I might be interested in maybe even bringing that in on the draw, but not the play.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I tend to like that card more on the draw as well. But the main question, BBD, I think that everyone is wondering: do you bring in the one of Tarmogoyf?
Yes.
Okay.
You're not putting Goyf in your board if you're not going to bring it in.
Is that just because you're a fellow MTG boomer like Matt Nass, or is this just a card you want in this matchup?
It's because I'm a fellow MTG boomer like Matt Nass.
Yes,
I don't think Tarmogoyf's actually. Yeah, I don't think Tarmogoyf's actually what you want in this match. Especially we're seeing a Leyline of the Void limits the impact of the Goyf, but
all I'm saying is I just picture, you know, Matt Nass is 2-0, right? You know, is playing round 3 of this US Regional Championship, and his opponent just attacks with a 4/4 Rhino. Matt has a cord for 2, flashes in a Tarmogoyf and blocks, and just he rejoices, and all his friends rejoice with him.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that. This is a really nice hand for Nathan to see, because those double Cauldron against Leyline of the Void.
Ooh, yeah, those are pretty much blank pieces of cardboard here, right? I mean, I guess you can get Nathan's cards here, but all right, presuming Nathan does have the Not Dead After All, what are your 2 cards you pick here?
Yeah, I the Grist, and then it's an interesting choice, but I'm probably taking Grist and then Scavenging Ooze. This is probably what I would want to take, but maybe the Halfling as well.
Agatha's Soul Cauldron, it looks like one of those was taken, but not the second one. That is interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I'm curious what Nathan has in his hand. He might have. I mean, taking the Halfling so that Matt doesn't have a turn 1 play is pretty appealing.
Yeah.
I'm interested on why on the reasoning behind taking one of the Cauldrons there.
Yeah, maybe not realizing Leyline pretty much shuts it down. And wow, that is just 2 lands in hand for Nathan. Yeah, you would think, I think I would have taken Grist and Scavenging Ooze then, if there's not a lot going on, and just hoped for the best there, especially with Agatha's Soul Cauldron being legendary. But here we are.
Yeah, and one element to think about from Matt's hand though too is also the Visage. You can take care of the Leyline, so it's not a guarantee that Soul Cauldron, you know, would be turned off the entire game, but also the amount of resources and time invested to do that, and then starting from 0 in the graveyard once you've already done it, it's still unlikely that Soul Cauldron is going to play like a huge role in the game, I think.
Totally agree. And that's another reason why I don't necessarily love Leyline, because I would think from Matt Nass's side, we didn't exactly talk about what he's bringing in here, but there is that one Rec Sage, which basically just comes in against every matchup. You know, there's either, I mean, almost every matchup has Cursed Totem, so it's just enough of a reason right there. But if you can also pick off a Leyline of the Void, that's great. And then there's also those Force of Vigors. You know, if you can ever get fortunate enough to clear out a Leyline of the Void plus a Cursed Totem, you just feel excellent.
Yeah, and the opportunity cost of Reclamation Sage is so low because of Court of Calling and it being effectively 5 copies when you're putting 1 into your deck.
And just think of this too. 5 copies of Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, I mean, like, calm down there, Corey. I got a match to do here. I don't want to get too crazy.
That's just good deck building right there, I must say. So that is some impressive stuff. And Matt Nass also showcasing the new land here that we have. And wow, Matt Nass is actually playing 2 copies of the green-black Surveil land. It does seem pretty good in Yawgmoth. It seems very good in Rhinos. and seems like okay in living ends. These surveil lands, I was very skeptic of their power, of their place in modern, as having a land coming into play tapped. Triomes is kind of the line, and triomes are extremely powerful. 3 types of land, plus you can cycle them. Are you surprised by the impact of these surveil lands, or is this something with fetch lands that you just think is kind of a no-brainer to be extremely powerful?
I think with fetch lands, it's I don't want to say it's a no brainer. I think there is an opportunity cost to it, but the cost goes way down when you just only have to put one, maybe 2 copies in your deck. And a lot of these decks that are strong in modern are decks that are based around, they're not just like, generic good stuff type decks. They're looking for specific types of cards. So being able to push yourself 1 card closer to that, like Shardless Agent or Yawgmoth or whatever it is that you're looking for, like carries a little bit more value than it might in like a traditional deck.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I've been hearing a lot of Rhino players be like, it's literally draw a card. I'm like, well, I don't know about that, but it does seem very strong.
Yeah, I disagree with its draw a card, but it is still very good.
All right, so as it stands, Lightning Bolt off the top from Nathan to be able to clear up that Scavenging Ooze. Here's another chunk for Grief, putting Matt down to 6. And now there's no card to go with Grist. And Grist looks a lot less exciting when it ticks up to 4 and Grief just takes it down. This is where Matt is supposed to tick up Grist and flip a Grist, right?
Absolutely. And also the thing about the Grist though too is it does buy time.
Yeah.
So like Nathan is incentivized to have to go after the Grist instead of Matt's life total. And in doing that, like it buys him possibly a turn. Although, okay. Yeah, it did end up buying him a turns. And it created one of the 2 blockers you're looking for to eventually trade with that thing.
Yep, that's a tough choice, but I think you have to go at Grist there, of course, unless you top deck Lightning Bolt. But Matt being at 1, is not that big of a difference when you have Grist that can just get you continual value. So we'll see what the follow-up is there. I spotted a Quarter Calling. So worst case, we have a Quarter Calling for 2, but no Tarmogoyfs in the deck.
Yeah, I was gonna say Court for Goyf.
Yeah, I mean, here we go. Unfortunately, Goyf wouldn't be able to
one, two Tarmogoyf. There we go.
It's a lot less exciting with Leyline of the Void too. So you know what? Maybe I'm gonna backpedal here and say that it's probably not in the deck. All right, this is what we kind of call the Temple of Tilt here from back in the day. Top decking a land that almost assuredly Matt wanted to cord for 3 to get another Grist here, right?
Yeah, I think also Bowmasters looks pretty appealing on this board state, but decides to play the Cauldron.
And there's the cost of those surveil lands, right? Like that is the absolute cost, because I don't know how I couldn't have, why I wouldn't have wanted to just cord for 3 for Grist, get rid of the insect and kill Grief, right? I mean, I think I'm still probably doing that on this turn.
Yeah, I think that's still happening here.
Yeah. Because Yawgmoth isn't even really a good card anymore, wouldn't you think?
Not at 2 life with no board presence. Yeah, that's not something that I'd be super interested in. I mean, the Reclamation stage to blow up the Leyline with the Soul Cauldron is appealing in a long-term sense, but I don't think that you have the time.
Agreed. So here is the youngest of the wolves mixed with Quarter Calling for 3, and I think Planeswalker is about to hit the battlefield. What a unique card in the design space for Grist to be able to be tutored up like this, to be collected companied and stuff. Are you a fan of this?
I am. I think it's really cool to have some cards like this. You don't want it to be like ubiquitous in Magic, but
yeah,
having some types of these kinds of cards, I do think that is really cool.
Now, was this one of the cards you had a hand in? Was this Modern Horizon 1 or 2 for Grist?
This was 2, yeah.
Okay, so you tested this card a decent amount when you were designing this?
Yeah. Now, with that being said, we were just doing the testing. We weren't like making the cards, but yeah, this was a card that we spent a lot of time with, and it was awesome.
Okay, cool. Was the Grist kind of in this shell that you guys were preparing for? Was it paired with these Yawgmoth deck? Was this something you knew about, or was it kind of an unknown spice after the set came out?
Honestly, I do not remember. I don't
There we
remember.
go.
We were playing so many different crazy things that I don't remember exactly where it
Fair enough.
was.
Fair enough. You could have just said, you know, you could have just lied to the public and said, yeah, we knew this was going to happen exactly. We had the exact 75 of these
Yeah.
Yawgmoth decks, you know.
I had 74 of Matt Nass's 75 in MH2 testing. Missed on the Goyf.
Yeah, I mean, the Goyf was a little too big brain for you. I'm surprised you got the Surveil lands after they were not even close to being printed yet, though.
Oh
You're the
yeah,
real big brain player, it would seem. All right, so Agatha's Soul Cauldron, exiling Grief to put a counter on Young Wolf. And here we go. We're going to start going off here. And now, you know, you look at these situations, you look at these board states where Nathan has the ley line from turn one. And, you know, I think it's definitely done something because Agatha's Soul Cauldron is out, but it just looks at this situation of the game. If you're not able to piece together that last point of damage, you kind of question how good this card actually was.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I think, you know, in very interesting situation too, where like the combination of the Curse Totem and the Ley Line, while both powerful, they're like they don't win the game by themselves. They need something else to go with them.
Yep, totally agree.
Like Young Wolf, yeah, it doesn't have Undying anymore, but it's still a creature. It still attacks and blocks.
Now that's a +1/+1 counter on it. Now, is it a 2/2 now, or is that just taken off? Because it was sacrificed to Gris, right? Sometimes the Undying counters plus the +1/+1 counters, you know, negate, but this is just a 2/2 right now, right?
Yeah, this is a 2/2. It was the Soul Cauldron on Nathan's Grief was able to put a counter on it.
Okay. All right. So Matt Nass's turn, kind of head in hands there, as must have drew something that was relatively close. And you got to think from Matt's perspective, he's not playing around anything at this point, right? You don't really have the luxury of doing so when you're at one.
Yeah, you're dead to everything. I think he might be debating how he wants to, you know, how he wants to use some of his cards, abilities, whether he wants to like hold back for possibly something like a Dash Ragavan, even though it's unlikely to be in the deck. Um, but ends up sending in. I mean, you do have to get Nathan dead. You don't want to give him too much time to draw some piece of interaction.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, so here is Grief. No cards in hand, but one thing I did spot from Nathan is there is a not dead after all. But okay, there is a one card in hand for Matt, so decides to fire off Court of Calling first, and yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that's powerful right there.
Right, what are we getting? Tarmogoyf one time. Looks like Rex Sage. That's probably the most commonly tutored for card in the post board games against a lot of matchups. You know, a lot of people came ready to go with these curse totems for Yawgmoth. I think it was pretty known amongst players that the top two decks would be what they are, and probably in this order. I definitely had the top three as Rhinos, Yogg, and Amulet in that order. And that leads there to be a ton of cursed totems, as it's a pretty known quantity. Would that scare you when you're playing a deck like Yawgmoth?
No, not at all. I mean, there's Boseiju. There's the ability to play a normal game with Grist. You get to bring in cards to answer those kinds of cards as well. It's also an open deckless tournament, so I'm very rarely scared off of some strategy because of counterplay to that strategy, unless it's super oppressive. Okay, going for the not dead after all, but the Agatha's Soul Cauldron is going to end this threat.
Oh yeah, okay. So the Agatha's Soul Cauldron comes in. The roll never comes into play.
And that would have probably been game if, you know, with Matt Nass at 1 life and that 4/3 menace that can't die. I mean, that might have swung the game, but that Soul Cauldron actually ended up being super relevant from the other side of the board.
Yeah, and yeah, pretty much the only thing you can do to that is just chump block with 2/1/1s, but you definitely can't do that too often with Grief coming in there.
Yeah, you run out of time on that.
Yeah, it looks like Matt is respecting a dashed Ragavan here. There is still that one card. Decides to get
He might be doing the math on proliferating too.
Oh yeah,
got to do it.
absolutely.
You always got to do that proliferate math.
You definitely do, and doesn't have the absolute best land for that scenario, which is got to be Twilight Mire, right? I mean, that card is so excellent. Turn that Boseiju into a proliferate.
Although I believe with Soul Cauldron, that's available anyway.
Yep. True. So yeah, what this is for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Double can only proliferate once. So 9, 10. So it looks like we're one short.
Yeah, looks like it's a little bit short. I'm curious what Matt has in his hand.
I bet it's not Swamp. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
All right, Delighted Halfling. It looks like this is the final draw step for Nathan. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. I don't think is going to do it.
Oh, that's not going to do it.
Yeah, looks like Matt Nass is going to take it down and advance to 5-0. Having Matt Nass in your tournament at 5-0 is got to be a very scary sight for the rest of the players.
Oh yeah, you know it. You're dreading that pairings war. You're like, please not Matt Nass, you know. Especially when he's playing a deck in his wheelhouse like this. This kind of creature combat, or this kind of engine oriented style of combo deck is right up his alley.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt Nass getting to, play from home and have that home turf advantage where you can just also get a good night's sleep. Definitely a scary opponent to keep track of. So it looks like we have a giveaway. So yeah, we'll hear how you can get that giveaway here. And then we are going to have a interview right after this. So here we go. If you want to pick up some of this really, really cool products here, type heavy play in chat. BBD, look at this deck box. How nice is this?
Oh yeah, that's a lot better than the deck boxes that they gave us at the Pro Tours. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, those absolutely small plastic deck boxes that me and you ran for years, right?
You have to run it. They give it to you for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to pick up this absolutely awesome product, I love that playmat as well. I have seen this playmat firsthand here at the SCG last weekend. I saw a bunch of players that have this stuff. Don't sleep on heavy play, y'all. This product is really incredible, really high quality, and just playing on top of that mat is really awesome as well. So if you want a chance to win $5 in store credit at heavyplay.com, type heavy play and we'll get that going. You can also get 10% off with that code Denver2024 if you want to just pick that stuff up. I might have to do that. That product looks really nice. So, all right, that is going to do it from our main feature match here. We have an interview on the other side of this with Matt Nass. Let's give it a listen.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the feature match area. We got another interview brought to you here by Heavy Play. I'm Tannen Grace. I'm joined by Matt Nass, creature combo aficionado, Matt Nass. So you're playing, I mean, this would have been my bet, Yawgmoth.
Yeah, it's definitely a favorite. I love creature-based combos, elves, things like that, and this one definitely fits the bill. I've actually won 3 RCQs with this deck, so I've been jamming it a lot even before Cauldron and all that stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of new cards, Cauldron's kind of newer to the deck, but we've got some of the new lands in here that do some surveilling, and we've got an Insidiouser. Tell me about those cards.
Yeah, so the new set actually added a lot to this deck. It added the Surveil lands, Underground Mortuary is the one I'm playing. I remembered the name.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah, and I'm actually changed my mana base a lot. I'm playing 8 fetch lands, cut some of the Twilight Mire, Takenuma, stuff that was kind of useful but didn't really come up. And I'm just playing a lot of fetches and 2 of those. And if you watch my feature match, you saw it. The Surveil is really powerful, especially when you're getting hit by Griefs and Thoughtseizes and things like that. And just in general, the deck has a lot of mana creatures, has a lot of lands in it. It's vulnerable to Flood. This is a great way to fix Flood.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're telling me you got a kind of an interesting one here in the sideboard that's becoming a little more popular, but tell me a little bit about Necroplasm.
Yeah, so Necroplasm is a tech piece against the Rhinos deck. Rhinos have 0 cost. Necroplasm, end of turn, blows up all 0 costs. And then it goes to 1 and it can start blowing up your own stuff, but usually you can sack it to Yogg. You can use Yogg to peel -1 counters off of it. You can figure it out. they can kill it, but it has dredge, so not so bad.
Now, we've heard a lot of people coming into this event, they thought Yawgmoth was really well positioned. How are you feeling about how it is in the format? Because I know you were probably playing this deck no matter what.
Yeah, so the Rakdos matchup has gotten a lot better because Fury got banned. That's the big thing. Although the Surveil lands, I think, are meaningful there too. They're at their best against the discard deck. The Rhinos matchup is only so-so. That's the deck that's like popular that I'd rather not play against, but overall I still think it's totally solid deck and I'm pretty happy with it. The Roots is also a cool addition, Insidious Roots. I'm only playing one, I don't think it's perfect, but with a Young Wolf and Yogg, you can combo off, and you can just do some, every time you Cauldron, you get a plant that gets a counter,
Oh, wow,
and so those can use whatever Cauldron abilities you have. So sometimes you're Cauldroning Grist and making plants every turn and things get really nutty. So Wall of Roots also a plant, so it also gets the +1/+1 counters, not that it can attack, but anyways, lots of cool stuff. I think it's a good deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Seems like it's pretty good. You're doing great here this weekend. Best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, welcome back here to coverage of the U.S. Regional Championship. The one thing I got to say, it's so on brand for Matt Nass to be wearing shorts in February in Denver, Colorado right there. That was just exactly what I would expect, wouldn't you, BBD?
Oh yeah, I mean that's premium right there. If you're going to be a shorts guy, you got to wear your shorts in times where you're not supposed to wear shorts. Otherwise, you can't call yourself a shorts guy. It's important.
You weren't a shorts guy, right, BBD? You had a lot more pockets usually, right?
Oh, I was a shorts guy, just a little different type. Not the basketball shorts, the cargo.
There we go. Yeah, you can put your deck box in there, your life pads, all that kind of thing. So, all right, nice hearing from Matt Nass there, who went to 5-0, but we got ourselves a backup feature match here from round number 5, and we got some spicy deck lists here. So let's take a look at these before we dive into our backup feature match. First up, we have Jacob Pablo here playing 5-color creativity, a deck that is kind of fallen off here a little bit, but still is, doing quite well with it. BBD, walk us through a little bit about what this deck is doing and how it's placed in the metagame here.
Yeah, so this deck is looking to cheat in Archon of Cruelty. And the way that it does that is it uses Indomitable Creativity along with tokens generated from things that aren't creatures themselves, to where the Archon is the only card that creativity finds in your deck. So it's always going to hit this Archon. And you can get these tokens from things like fetching for a Dwarven Mine as your third mountain, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, and so on and so forth. So really it's just kind of a control combo deck that's looking to set up these Archon of Cruelties.
Extremely powerful deck, that is for sure. And Jacob's opponent here, let's take a look, and we have an extremely skilled Magic player here, Amin Abadi, who normally plays a lot of Hammer, decided to play Amulet Titan here, still comboing off with creatures, so still a little bit on brand here. But talk to us a little bit about this matchup, BBD. Is Creativity the kind of deck that wants to play against Amulet, or not so much?
I would guess not so much, because Amulet is, looking to not play the kind of interactive game that the creativity deck is maybe more tailored towards playing against. Amulet's looking to just get you dead. So in maybe one big turn once you play a Primeval Titan. So I don't think this is the optimal matchup. But the thing about Modern is it really rewards skill, format knowledge, matchup knowledge, and so you can really get a lot of mileage out of any deck, any archetype in any matchup, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those 3 reprieves that we saw from Creativity, I can just picture, like Primeval Titans on the stack after you got it with the Summoner's Pact and you reprieve it. And yeah, that could just be GG right away. So we'll see if Amenabody walks into those kind of traps. But sounds like the players are ready here for our backup feature match here of round number 5. Let's head on down. All right, so here we are. We got our players ready to go here. Looks like that 5 on top of the dice for Jacob, indicating a mulligan to 5. And I believe there's a dice on top of Amenabody as well. We'll see how many cards he has mulligan down to as well. I think both players might be down to 5, BBD.
Yeah, I mean, well, both of these decks are decks that are interested in mulliganing and have a lot of power to recoup from a mulligan. So I it's kind of nice to see. You never want to say that about going down to 5 cards, but it's nice to see a willingness to look for a good hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Arboreal Grazer is usually the card that I put on bottom if I'm mulliganing that much, though. So you got to think Amenabody still has plenty of stuff to do with his mana. And then from Jacob, I saw a fetch land, I saw a second land, and Renin 6. Kind of hard to ever ship that one away, as that pretty much negates your mulligan straight away.
Right. You can throw excess lands onto the bottom of your deck and not really feel the brunt of it.
Yep, totally agree. So there's Jetmir Garden. Take a peek at Jacob's hand there. We have that Renin 6. We have Prismatic Ending as well as Leyline Binding, a card that's going to be very important in this matchup to deal with Primeval Titans. No creativity in sight, but that's the thing about this deck. You can draw that late game, and fetch lands alone are enough to enable it. So Dwarven Mine, really good card in this deck.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amin has a really nice, smooth curve out here, but does need to have a payoff.
Yeah, I mean, Dryad there is great. We don't know exactly the one card. I didn't get a look at it, but you're really hoping it's either land or Titan, and you draw the other half of that. But as it stands, Jacob's going to fetch away here, probably getting either just a standard mountain or a dual land. I believe I saw a fancy little Fable the Mirror Breaker as a top deck.
Yeah, and that Valakut on the other side of the board is looking nice with that Dryad, but the banking on the Dryad sticking around is not always a wise proposition.
Yep, definitely. Dryad definitely dies in this matchup quite often, but now it'll be interesting. Do you cast Fable, or do you just deal with Dryad here?
I don't know. I would lean towards dealing with the Dryad, but with Amin only having 1 card in hand too, I would also be a little tempted to, wait for something maybe a little bit more scary.
Yeah, you get so punished, though, if Primeval Titan comes down, that's for sure. And it looks like Amenabody does have not only 1 Titan, but essentially a second Titan with a Pact and a Primeval Titan in hand. So I like the safe play here from Jacob. Just try to go for the long game a little bit because, well, Jacob can beat a Primeval Titan here, but Primeval Titan paired together with, maybe 5 Valakut triggers ends up being a little tougher.
Yeah, the combination of those 2 cards can win just what looks like a normal generic game of Magic without Amulet.
I like that art there on that card. Is that maybe a Pikachu looking at a television set? That's the best guess I got.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that what they mean by Mirror Breaker? I don't know.
I get okay. Maybe a Pikachu breaking a mirror. That would be next level stuff right there.
Drew land 6, but it was a bounce land and no Amulet.
Yeah, that is brutal here. Now, Amenabody, I think, really needs to top deck a amulet, you know, just something to be able to attack with that Primeval Titan right away, and also hope that Jacob doesn't have something to deal with it. But as it stands, that quick glance at the hand, I see Leyline Binding, Prismatic Ending, as well as Prismari Command. So got really everything going on for him except the creativity itself, to start going nuts with Archon of Cruelty.
Yeah, has all the elements set up, has the ability, is not under any threat really. Even a Primeval Titan isn't immediately like a game over type threat. I mean, it's still impactful, but Jacob definitely has some time.
Yeah, for sure. And not a ton of time in the sense that there is a Renin 6 ready to emblem here. How is an emblem from this deck in the Amulet matchup? Is it even good?
I'm not sure that it's that great. I mean, with that Prismari command, you can make sure that Amulet's not happening,
Yeah.
but is Amulet, I mean, how impactful is Amulet even at this point? I mean, the game's being played without it, so.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess if you top deck Bolt, maybe go Bolt, 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 but as it stands with Jacob's hand, it's not amazing. So here we go. We see Prime Time coming down, able to just put Teleria West to the hand to maybe just keep going with Titans, maybe get a Dryad and piece that together there, but still not anything too exciting from that first Primeval Titan.
Just a setup Titan, really.
Yeah.
Just getting all the pieces in order so that follow-up plays can maybe pull the game out.
Yep, makes sense. So here's Leyline Binding to deal with the first one. Prismari Command, probably going draw 2, make a treasure here, try to find that creativity to really start pulling ahead. And yeah, just a lot of lands there. There's another Fable the Mirror Breaker. Now, what about Leyline Binding against Primeval Titan? Like, is that the best answer that you want with a bunch of Boseijus, or is it still good enough that you're going to leave that in post-board?
It's probably still good enough to leave in post-board. It also doesn't have to hit specifically a Primeval Titan.
Okay.
It is a little bit of a liability, but it's just such a powerful card.
Yeah. Yep, I would have to agree. I think it's like your only instant speed way to deal with it. At least for the first game. You know, I see in the sideboard of Jacob, you got some Get Lost, which would be pretty nice. But outside of that, it's just Leyline Binding for interaction at instant speed for game number 1. All right, there is the emblem here for Renin 6.
Yeah, I don't think it's doing a lot right now, but it is enabling future plays to be way more powerful.
Yeah, we'll see if there's like another Renin 6 or something to, you know, be able to get a spell every single turn. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, Renin 6, the second one looks a lot better when you already have an emblem on play. I don't care what your spell choice is. You got something good going on for a while.
Yeah, my spell of choice is Chord for 2 for Tarmogoyf, but
yeah. Oh, okay, wrong match, BBD.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Quit living in the past, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, so Amina Body here, having some options. Taps 5 mana.
Okay.
Green, green, red, presumably, or I guess just green. And was that a Boseiju search for?
Yeah, found a Boseiju. This looks like a Summoner's Pact for Dryad. My guess is looking to just close out this game, play Dryad, has the Valakut in play already, can Boseiju that Leyline Binding at any point in time, and put some triggers into play on Valakut and maybe try to deal lethal damage.
This is interesting, though. Now, it's pretty face up that there is 2 Prismari commands available, right? So how do you work out the timing of this? Because if Boseiju gets pointed at the Leyline Binding, Jacob can just respond with double Prismari to deal with Dryad, right?
Or another Leyline Binding as well, it looks like. So
okay.
It is, I think it's going to be kind of, you know, a waiting game because there's no immediate need to do it right now.
Yeah, because just this damage here from Dryad, you're pretty just okay with this. Uh-oh, here it goes. Looks like this is being fired off. You saw another Leyline Binding in hand, though?
I think so.
Okay.
I kind of would have liked throwing the damage at Jacob here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're looking to end the game.
Okay, so Primeval Titan is in play. The ability is going to go on the stack. And one Prismari command is still on the stack, presumably aimed at Dryad. So does Jacob have to respond to this, or?
I think Jacob can let the lands come into play and then respond with a Leyline Binding. If the Dryad's not in play, the Valakut's won't actually deal any damage because there won't be. It checks again on the resolution of it. So can certainly wait to see, and I think it is nice to actually wait because you're maybe baiting Amin into getting suboptimal lands as a result.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the judge question that's going on here, and I would tend to agree with Amin Abadi, is there's a Prismari command already on the stack. Can you retrace again with it already on the stack?
I don't believe so, yeah.
I don't believe so either, right? So with that being the case, I'm kind of thinking Jacob doesn't have an answer for this. And if there is no answer for this, Vesuva copying Valakut with a Valakut already in play, that is what, 3 triggers each?
Yeah, I think that's
for each land, so 18 damage?
Yeah, I mean that looks like it would be game over if that is the case, for sure.
Okay. So there better be a Leyline Binding here. And there isn't.
Wow,
Wow.
That was what a turnaround.
Wow, that was really incredible. Amin Abadi takes that game down. And, you know, I've watched Amin play a ton of Magic and is really, really good with these creature combo decks. You know, Hammer, not necessarily the same as Amulet, but it's definitely still one of those decks that has a lot of complex lines and rewards you for really knowing your deck upside down, left and right.
Yeah, even though those two decks seem very like polar opposites of each other, they actually are similar in the style of play that rewards you for playing them.
Yep, totally agree. All right, so we were just getting our second game ready. Let's head back down to the table here and see how this goes. Also, a big shout out to production here. You know, believe it or not, these players do sideboard and shuffle and all that stuff, but we're able to negate that and bring you just more magic, more magic. Gotta love that, right, BBD?
There's nothing better than additional magic after magic. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you finish a tournament that you played in and you didn't do as well as you wanted to do, and the first thing you do is you go back home and maybe fire up, play some magic online and hope to like fix some of the problems that you had from your tournament.
Okay, BBD, I'm gonna let the public know of your secret there when we were playing Pro Tours all the time. BBD would always just go play more Magic at the end of the Pro Tour. Me, I need a break afterwards. I want to go hang out and chill, but not you, BBD. You were always ready to get some more games in.
Oh, for sure. And double amulet here. This is the lookings of what could be a really explosive draw.
Yeah, no kidding. With the triple amulet, already dealt with one of them. Yeah, yikes. I mean, this already looked like kind of a brutal matchup here for Jacob, but if Amin has just an excellent draw and Jacob doesn't have something like a Reprieve, Leyline Binding, something like that, you got to think this is going to be a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly looking, I mean, we're about to possibly see even a third amulet hit the board. And then really, I mean, there's a lot that can happen here.
Yeah, with 3 amulets, I mean, I don't think one human has ever figured out the math of all the things you can do if you have the right amount of tools in hand as well, right? It's just impossible.
It's impossible for me. I'll say that much. I'm sure it's doable.
Okay, so with 3 triggers on the stack, we have a Boseiju to deal with the land. Now remember, the Simic Growth Chamber's ability is still on the stack here.
Yeah, that's a great play there. That's a really heads up play to understand how it works with the different triggers.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to Boseiju one of the 3 amulets in this situation. That ends up being not as strong. Okay, so able to play Defense Grid.
Yeah, so interaction is turned off for Jacob on Amin's next turn. Yep. So Jacob's kind of put in a spot where it's just you got to play something.
Yep, got to play something.
Hope you're not dead.
Yeah, no kidding. I saw Prismari Command, I saw Fable and Creativity as the 3 cards for Jacob, so has the option to shatter one of these artifacts. The defense grid, no need to deal with that, but even one, I mean, okay, actually destroying the amulet, I think is good here because you can still prevent a Primeval Titan coming into play off of just one bounce land. They have to have Grazer plus, a bounce land. As it stands there, I
Absolutely.
think we have Summoner's Pact, and 2 lands. One of them
One of the
being
lands is a
Crumbling
Crumbling Vestige, which
Yeah.
does produce a lot of mana. I don't think it produces.
It's only 4, right?
I think it's 1 mana short of a Titan still.
Yep. So
So
that is 4.
I really like the decision to just play the Fable and not. You can play this game where you take out 1 amulet and hope to go that way, but I mean you're still behind. You have to get proactive at some point.
All right, Amin's doing some math here because I'm starting to do that math as well. There's 2 Summoners Pact. So if the first Crumbling Vestige adds 4, right, and the Forest adds a 5th, you can get Dryad. That will net you 1 mana, right? Because you play Dryad and then you have that Teleria West to play for 4 more mana. I think we can get to Titan here.
And another, I mean, I don't know if they're in the deck at this point, but Arboreal Grazer is another one because it does put the land into play tapped. You can put that forest from your hand into play tapped.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
And that would also generate additional mana.
Yeah, and there's really no free spells.
And there it is. Yeah, getting the Grazer.
Yep.
To put that force into play, generate more mana. Now you're going to grab Primeval Titan, and that should be game over. With the defense grid and 3 amulets, that's going to be lethal.
Well, it's definitely game over. It's just, is it Amin closing this out, or is that double Summoner's Pact going to end this game? But with 3 amulets, I believe the math is just no matter what, you are always kind of casting all your amulet or all your Titans.
Yeah, with 2+ amulets, you get to copy a Titan with Mirror Pool, and then you can haste your Titans and then do Boros, Garrison type Slayer Stronghold stuff in combat as well.
Yeah. Impressive stuff there. There's Amin Ebadi taking that down. Just a master at Magic the Gathering, going to 5-0. Any final thoughts from that match at all, BBD?
I just want to say how impressive the amulet deck is and the ability to pilot it, because I mean, you think about that last turn and it was 3 amulets and a forest, and all that happened from just that board. I don't know. It's just really love seeing masters of that deck demonstrate how to pilot it.
Yeah, and that is one of the decks that, like, some people are going to play Rakdos Evoke or Rhinos because they think it's the best deck. There's some people that are just going to play Amulet no matter what. And if it just so happens to be the best deck, like, great. But, the people that just stick with it and find themselves in an actual good metagame for Amulet, as it's the 3rd most played deck, ends up being really awesome. Yeah. All right. Okay. So that is the end of round number 5. We have a interview here with Amin Ebadi with Tan and Grace. So let's listen to that, and then we'll be right back for round number 6.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Feature Match area, brought to you by Heavy Play. I'm Tanner Grace, I'm joined by Amin Ebadi, fresh off a win here with Amulet Titan, a deck that gives a little bit of variance to the format. People love it, people hate it. You seem to really love it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just windmill, slam dunk on somebody. Sometimes you draw no lands and die. It's a great polarity. Yeah. You just die all the time, but you also just crush people. It's awesome.
I'm people. I usually get crushed by this deck. Now, you were talking about you have a more red-heavy version of this deck. We've got Sunhome in here. We've got Slayer's Stronghold, and you were saying that was pretty big for you so far.
Right, so with the red version of the deck, there's going to be a lot of red cards in the sideboard. Storm's Wrath and Fire Spout. Those cards are very red-heavy, and so what people tend to do when they play the deck is they play Hanweir Garrison or Hanweir Battlement, the one that gives haste, and I was really, really against it. Rhinos is the #1 most represented deck here today, and so the Slayer's Stronghold giving +2 power is really important because it trades with Rhinos, and the Vigilance is also extremely important. And so I think straying away from that, I kind of built my own list in which you can really use the haste and the 2 power very efficiently.
Speaking of more red cards, I see there's 1 Bone Crusher Giant here in your sideboard, and you're talking about that it was a little techie for the mirror?
Right. So if you play against the One Ring deck, any of them, Bone Crusher Giant's going to help. And the way that it actually is really going to matter is because I have one Mirror Pool in the deck, which makes a copy of a Titan. So no matter what, even if my opponent is on Titan and we're playing the Mirror, I can stomp myself. You make a copy of Titan with 2 amulets. You get 3 Titans in total. 2 Titans in total, and give them both double strike. That is way more than 20 damage. Even if they have a blocker, they are definitely dead.
Well, you've looked great so far this weekend. You got a great record going into the next couple rounds. Best of luck the rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.